Okay. What's up? Meeting called to order, 7:02. Stand for the salute to the flag. Pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you call the members, please?
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Rochester,
Aye.
Councilmember Bory,
Aye.
Supervisor Trombley.
Aye. Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. A motion to approve the minutes of the previous meetings, first of January 10th, 2023. This is our regular board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 10th, 23 meeting.
Second.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then the January 25th, 2023 special meeting.
I wasn't there for that one, so I will.
You'll abstain, okay.
No, I was there for that one.
Oh, you was, I'm
I
sorry.
weren't, I didn't even talk tonight. I wasn't for the one previous to that.
So you abstained on the last one, okay.
So you made a motion?
Yes, I'll make a
Okay.
motion for the second one because I was there and no one happened.
Okay. Do we have a second for approval?
I'll second that.
Any corrections or revisions required? I didn't say it wrong.
I think there's just a few changes. I believe it was on the January 10th minutes, and I think it says at page 11. It's just a typo. It says we expect to install in early summer is what it should state.
Yeah, it's really solid.
Correct. Yeah, it's just a typo, no big deal, but just for people looking at this 10 years out
Okay.
Page 11 where?
on the January 10th
Way at the
minutes.
bottom.
Correct.
Towards the bottom.
And underneath the minutes for each council member under mine, it should say everyone, not everything. And the village is hiring, and I should say in a positive direction. So there's a couple of things that just need to be edited, please.
And how about on the January 25th?
What was the first one, were you talking about summer?
I don't have them in front of me, so again, I don't have my copies, I only have the electronic that was sent to me. So, I can't tell you that. It's on page 11, underneath the Ridge Road. We have chosen the plumbing contractor and we're currently in the process of getting quotes for equipment, expect to install in early summer. It's the first bulleted item, see it?
Yeah, put in my typo, Julie.
No, so just,
That was part of my report. And where's the other one?
the other ones I think are in regards to the announcements for each council person. And I've gotta find them here. On page 14. It, I would like to recognize the village mayor and the things he is doing, and things are moving in a positive direction now, okay,
Okay.
please? I think that was it, so, that's it. Thank you.
And then the special meeting on 25th, does anybody have revisions on this one?
I do not.
First and second, all in favor of approving as written?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Presentation of petitions, communications, and general question period. We have no one attending tonight from members of the community. So we'll go into the supervisor's report. Good evening. First and foremost, I'd like to send a big thank you to our highway department. They have done an outstanding job taking care of our roads this winter. They, including our highway superintendent, have spent many overnight weekend hours keeping the problem areas open due to the weekend winds. And believe me, if you ask Alan, it's always weekend winds for some reason, and the icy areas also that are created. We recently attended the Chamber of Commerce annual dinner. Our table was the town of Champlain and its villages. Both board members from the town and village of Champlain and 4 of our local business owners were present. This was a great evening, and we thank the Chamber for hosting this fun event and for recognizing the great efforts of our businesses. Congratulations to the winners of this year's Chamber Awards. And this year's awards were Business of the Year, BHSN, Behavioral Health Services North, Business Person of the Year, Dina Glitz McCullough of Northern Insuring Agency. Small Business of the Year award was Banker Orchards, and Trailblazer award was Adam Crossley of Team Crossley. So congratulations to all. The leadership team met in January with the EMS board members to define budget expectations for 2024. The EMS board is conducting research to define aspects of their organization that may alleviate the town's concern with having this expense within the tax cap. We will meet again in early April to discuss their findings. The leadership team will be meeting on February 27th also to review and discuss our joint use program agreement. Beware Benner Group, BBG, provided 3 new logos for us to choose, and the board picked one at our last meeting, January 25th. BBG is now working on our mission statement, and we are hopeful that we will be able to release our summer advertising video on our website by late spring. Currently, the marketing team is working on the next video of the series, and Councilmember Boria will surely be updating us on his report. We recently had our kickoff meeting on February 8th for our comprehensive plan revision project with AES and the Department of State, DOS. This joint venture with the Village of Champlain is crucial for our future growth to have a document that portrays our visions for our communities in the future. At this time, while waiting for our contract with DOS to be approved, we will begin forming our teams to work on this project. If anyone from the community, especially business owners, are interested in being a team member, please call me. And I want to add that I attended a meeting with the Chamber last week. This is one of the quarterly meetings that we schedule to go over our progress. And they announced at that meeting that once we get this website up and live and get our video going, they have funding to push that on to their site. So they're going to take care of that at no cost. So that was really good.
Nice.
Really good to know, yeah. So they're gonna put it, you know, on the New York, Montreal, around that coast, and the, what's that other one for the Good Life? Yeah. Yeah, so they're gonna fund that and see that it gets pushed out and highly populated, so.
Wonderful.
I think it's the best words to use. So it's excellent news. It was a good meeting. Looking forward to the next one. It's always a great discussion. That one actually lasted about 90 minutes. Restore New York grant funding. The application for round 7 grant funding was successfully submitted on January 27th, 2023. And of course, that's for the Miramar building, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Public announcements. The next defensive driving course is being held on March 11th, 2023. This will again be held at the Rosas Point Civic Center meeting room. Their meeting room has been appreciated and it provides abundant room for the classes. Thank you to Rosas Point for hosting. And I meant to put the phone number in the call. I know it's on the board out there. Maybe you have it, Rick. But
And it's also on the town's website.
that's true. You can find it on the town's website, the number to call and register. But it doesn't, I don't think it requires pre-register. You can show up, that they appreciate it.
I think they do appreciate it,
They appreciate
just so they know
pre-registration.
planning.
There will be a free rabies clinic held at the Champlain Fire Station on Elm Street in Champlain. Reminding early, I'll do this again next month, but this will be on April 4th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. And you must pre-register by calling the Clinton County Health Department at 518-565-4870. The 2022-2023 New York State Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program, known as LIHWAP, is now available. New York State LIHWAP began a new federal fiscal year on October 1st, 2022, and updated the application recently for 2023. The updated version of the application is available on our website, and we will also include this information in the next quarterly billing for water and wastewater. If you have any questions, please call the Town of Champlain offices. The town would like to appoint more alternates to the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Board. Please consider serving the town in this capacity, as we need talented citizens of this township to become involved and assist us in moving forward. Please contact me if you have interest for details. There will be a blood drive held at the Champlain EMS station on March 6th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. This drive is sponsored by the Knights of Columbus Champlain Council 3525 and the Champlain Moores EMS. Please make an effort to become a donor or remind a friend that there is always need for donors. What a great way to help save lives. I want to say thank you to all our veterans and active military men and women for your service. Also thank you to all of our first responders for your dedication to your community. Thank you very much. First, the council members. Councilmember Moore, sir, do you have anything?
Well, we had an online discussion over the National Fitness Campaign. They're willing to, they provide grants for recreational opportunities. They have, I think you've all got this.
Yes, I
right?
provided copies for everybody.
Yeah.
And they basically provide a pre-formed exercise workout area and other things to go with it, walls. And a lot of it's matching, but they are trying, they're calling us stakeholders, anybody who's interested, such as the high school,
In the village.
the two villages might, and anybody else you can think of that might be interested in helping fund recreational opportunities for the area. And it's not just youngsters, it's adults,
Mm-hmm.
seniors. It is outdoors, but it does meet most of their criteria that they were looking for.
Oh, it does, because we offered up Bob Van Park, which is adjacent to the trail, and that's what, the accessibility was one of the criteria.
Yeah, I mean, the trail goes right through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other keys are not just the high visibility, but it has to be a high traffic area,
And that's a high
a
traffic
central
area.
location, which that is, and it also is integrated with pedestrian infrastructure, so
It-
it does meet all three criteria.
Yeah, the last one they had was visibility. I said, well, it depends a little bit because we have no idea where we'd site it,
Correct.
but if it's down from the parking lot, I don't know, you know, it goes down a little bit, it's not a huge thing, but I wasn't sure if we picked that location right down near where the
Mm-hmm.
wet part is, it might not be seen, the visibility might not be what they'd like. Whereas if we put it in, an area going further north, it might be more visible. But
It
then,
could get blown away.
Well, we could add signage to make sure it's
well, yeah, I mean, that's
brought to people's attention.
that's an easily fixed thing. It just depends where we put it, but that was one of their criteria. It has to be visible. What that means, you know, they just want it to be seen.
So there's a fair amount of funding available through the program. It's
Yes,
just that there's, you know, several segments that have to be matched.
Correct.
and,
And I meant to email the county this week and see if I could get them on board with this, and I will do that. I forgot.
Yeah, I didn't know if the Department of Health, along with what they did last, over the
yeah,
last few
and we
years.
have another meeting set up,
Mhm.
I think Tom and I will be there. It should be just like a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, county department knows what I was talking about.
Right.
I know I've got it down here. It's the first week Tom comes back. I thought I had it down.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Anyway, it's in March,
Yeah.
and it's preliminary. They're gonna see how far we've advanced and whether we fit in, and
It's the first, March 1st,
March 1st.
10 a.m.
Probably want a week too far.
It's on Wednesday.
Yes, so we'll have more information. We'll be a little bit further along in the project and let everybody know. And this was a good overview. So we do have the number of contact person if we have any questions. If you have any questions, you know, before the meeting, you know, we can try and get them answered.
Yeah, and we'll get, I think at this meeting, we'll get the towns and cities in the northern tier that have already taken place. I think the closest one was, what?
It was a ways.
It wasn't Messina, was it? A
uh,
little further out than that.
It was further than that, I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, they have all the points on the map.
but I'd like to, be nice to speak to them to see what the pluses and minuses were.
yeah, I mean, it's a cookie cutter design, so it's.
Well, it looked like they had multiple options to choose from, and each one of those, in terms of the cost, they increase with each level. My only question is what are the funding match amounts for, each municipality's gonna have to kind of put up for something like this? And number two, it also is gonna be based upon, in terms of usability. Are people going to use it? And so it'd be nice to kind of maybe even gather some feedback and see whether or not that there's interest before we kind of invest in something of this magnitude.
Yeah, I think, my guess is it would be, but I think if we get the school involved, there'd be even more.
Right.
The school- And the two
More
villages,
usage.
because it's similar to what they have in the two villages, it's not the same, you know what I mean? And so it's a different way, you know, somebody wants to try a different workout, this would offer the alternative. And plus, if you have parents and kids that are going there for soccer or ball games, they might take advantage of it while their kid has practice.
And it's ADA compliant, so
Right.
it's set up for the disabled as well.
But I think that's why we're trying to get the two villages and the school and maybe the Clinton County Health Department involved, is maybe we can chip away at the funding through their
At
help
the match.
match.
You don't know deadlines in terms of when we have to, because I didn't see that as far as what the deadlines are for applying, Brian.
My understanding is that they gather all the information that we have from them and all the stakeholders, and we present it to them, and that's when they vet and see whether you should apply.
Mhm.
I guess that's their way of weeding out people that, you know, aren't gonna qualify. That was my understanding, and, you know, once you get your package together, you're not formally applying, but you're telling them what you have for sources, what your plans are and everything. And if they feel that it's worthy, then they will send you forth into the application process. And,
Yeah.
you know, kind of makes sense.
And it looks like this particular type of fitness option is very different than the one that's in Rouse's Point with inside the park. Theirs is kind of spread out throughout the
Yes,
park,
yeah.
or this is kind of very centralized.
It's like a gym.
It
Yeah,
is, it's like a gym, and you can do a lot of different things with it, you know, outside of just the equipment that the actual fitness center provides, so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Give people alternatives. You know, it's-
It's pretty neat though.
So it's an actual building?
No, it's actually a slab.
It
They
should
would
be
put in a
packet.
concrete slab,
Oh.
and then on top of the slab, there would be different components that could be utilized.
Yeah, I think
So-
there's a flooring installed on top of the concrete.
Correct.
And everything is bolted down.
Right,
Oh, bolted down, good.
yeah, wind wouldn't blow the
Almost
stuff
think of it as
away.
like circuit work or
Right.
station work, like a
Correct.
gym
What
or
it would look
something.
like,
where you can
you
go
know,
in
there'd be a
there.
wall on one side,
Yep, same
that
thing.
would be the wall.
And it also could be used for
Oh,
non-equipment
okay.
related activities, so like if you're
Just
doing
all the
Pilates, I
fabric
think
color.
it's that, or if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
doing Zoom or whatever. So,
It's something we'll try for.
Right.
Well, yeah,
We'll keep investigating and figure it out.
right, it.
Right.
we
And
do have those alternatives.
Rick's gonna report, but we had a meeting of the EDU Appeals Committee and discussed some EDU processes and way to streamline things and I think you thought, you know, we could do just some things different, but we're working on it, and Rick's gonna do the report, so I will be quiet.
That's all you have?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunter.
let's see, first of all, the Champlain Fire District does not have anything to report right now, although Chris and I are in discussion, trying to identify with possibly Chief J.P. Fillion coming and maybe presenting to the board in regards to the fire hydrants and things that the town can do, similarly to what Mayor McFetrich and some of the village individuals kind of attended the Champlain Fire District's meeting, and they were kind of brought up to speed as far as the way that the fire hydrants have to be maintained and things of that nature. So we're in that starting discussionary stage. We're hoping that something like that can kind of take place. That's all I have for the Champlain Fire District. In terms of Rouse's Point, as I noted in the last month's meeting, the Rouse's Point Fire Department will be putting on a breakfast in April, and I will announce more information again in March, as we're a little bit too far out, and I think information would be lost. But I did announce it at the last monthly meeting. Also, there's an annual ice fishing derby held by the Rouse's Point Sportsman's Club coming up on the 18th and 19th of February. There is a entry fee, but there's a lot of great prizes here, as well as there is different chowders that you can go and partake in that they hold right there at the Sportsman's location. Also, if you're looking for tickets, you can get them at the Champlain, Lake Champlain Fisheries, Cornerstone Drugs, Hog Island Fisheries, Latitude 45, and the American Legion Post 912. Kids 12 and under also can compete for the largest northern and the largest perch. And again, as noted, chowders served all day Saturday and Sunday. And I believe prizes will be handed out Sunday at the clubhouse, so that's kind of a neat little thing. So if you're not busy this weekend, my wife and I have partaken in the chowder before, and it's very, very good, so I recommend it to everybody. So, also public skating at the Rouse's Point Rec Center, just to announce some dates. There is public skating on the 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th. If you visit the Village of Rouse's Point's website and actually click on public skating, you'll see the times for each of those particular dates. So I recommend that you kind of take advantage of an opportunity that our very small community has that many larger communities don't have. In addition to that, I did give Councilmember Moore a copy of an update to the actual noise ordinance. I know that's another business, but I want to just kind of note that now. Per his recommendations, I made changes to that top paragraph, so maybe now we can kind of start to remove some of those other businesses that seem to continually appear on the actual monthly agendas, month after month.
On old business, yes.
That's right, it'd be nice to kind of see some of those taken away. Also, in terms of the EDU Appeals Committee, as Brian indicated, Chris and Brian and I met and we discussed a couple of different instances, again, without mentioning specific commercial sites here in public without going into executive session. Just to note, I think we've got closure on one of those particular sites, and trying to find a copy of the actual contract that exists for one of the other commercial sites was kind of very time consuming. I had to go back into the minutes and kind of look back from 2014 forward.
Oh, wow.
I was able to find a contract, but it was not one that in fact was signed. To the last of my knowledge, Sarah was going to kind of check emails to see if there in fact is a signed copy of that contract that exists between that commercial business and the town in regards to EDUs. So once I have more information, I will kind of provide you with that.
Okay.
So I've given copies of the EDU letter that is to go out to the commercial business that had expressed some questions. So once I hear back from Jason and Brian and Chris, we'll proceed with getting that correspondence out to that business. So
Okay. Very good.
that's all I have for now.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Adams. Councilmember Rochester, do you have anything to report?
No, I don't, but I'm just wondering about those EDUs because are you finding a lot of people are dissatisfied with what? Are you getting a lot of pushback?
No, I would say, again, keep in mind that, you know, EDUs really weren't a part of this in regards to Water District number 6 prior to 2018.
Okay.
Because of the actual payments that actually had to deal with the debt distribution to the environmental facilities for repayment didn't start until January of 2018. So
Okay.
I can say that since our EDU Appeals Committee has been put in place, we've probably seen maybe 10 or 12 different
Yes.
residential and commercial
Both?
concerns, and we've addressed them as they come in. So
That's not a big percentage. is it?
No.
Oh, it's very, very,
Very
very
small.
small.
it's very small,
I mean,
but it is, in fact, I think, very important for transparency that we make sure that these
Gets
customers
addressed.
are aware of how they can address those issues, very similar to the way that they address concerns in regards to their property assessments that are done each year, so.
Sure.
And our process will be a little bit different, and it will actually occur probably a little bit later than when it does for the real property assessments or those grievances that occur in May, so. So we're starting to work on a process for that.
Good. That makes sense. I just wondered because I know that, like you said, it hasn't been that many years
No.
that it's been in place.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just going year 5.
Right. And then I think the most important thing was to just make each of the customers aware that this particular committee does mindfully identify with, you know, what the financial impact is of these EDUs. But also, they need to recognize that this has to do with that capital water project that was agreed to and passed with inside of the town and the villages, and so therefore, we've got to move forward and kind of always be aware of how we're gonna sustain
Yeah.
those particular costs.
Our obligation,
So,
yeah.
that's right,
The debt has to be repaid.
that's right.
That's the bottom line.
That's
all-
it.
That's all this CDU
Boils
assessment is
down.
about, it goes
Yeah.
towards the debt.
And the only question I have is as noted, as we move forward after this year, and it does appear on the 2024 tax statement, is how we're going to name or label that. Because as we move forward, if we look at a sewer project, again, we'll be looking at EDUs, so we're gonna have to be very careful with the naming of that.
Yeah, Julie and Sarah and I threw out some verbiage the other day.
Mhm.
We wrote it down or not, but,
Good.
yeah, and to everybody, you'll get details of that later in new business when we get to the letter. Maybe I'll read the letter just so it gets reiterated what's coming. I think the letter explains it pretty well.
It does.
Good.
Okay. Anything else?
Yep, that's good.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Rochester. Council Member Bory.
All right, I'll start with ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, so the minutes are in your packet. I was not able to make the meeting, but just some of the quick highlights. A couple of these were dependent on the planning board meeting, which was happening after the zoning board meeting. So just making sure that stuff went through. Looks like the solar application was pending on that planning board as coming through. And the other thing was the public hearing scheduled for February 16th from the Champlain Fire District, the application to be looked at in a public setting. So that's coming up on February 16th at 5:30. It's open to the public. So that's just a few days from when we're having our meeting. All right, so that's CBA. So a couple of things, marketing. We met on the 16th of January. We met with Boyer Benner, reviewed the logos. As you heard from earlier reports, that one was selected. And then now working on a compilation of all of the information we put together for our mission statement and a vision for the town moving forward. They're helping us develop that. So, and it was nice reviewing what everybody wrote. It was a lot of good stuff. It's a lot of heart coming from all of your representatives. You know what this place means to them and what makes it special, and it was really neat to see. Then the video, so there's been no new filmography. I kind of hope we haven't lost the edge of what maybe could be what's left of winter. But we had that cold snap, and maybe that was the time to get out on the ice. But Paul, Paul just got back to me. He's been ill. And yeah, so he's just feeling better now, and he is anxious to get filming in this event that you mentioned.
Maybe an opportunity.
It may be an opportunity, the ice fishing tournament for sportsmen that Councilmember Hunter brought up. So I'm gonna throw that to him, and we'll see what maybe we can cook up. If anything, it'll be an opportunity to get you know, the pier and maybe some of the visuals of what's going on, if they're not out on the ice, but it's a possibility. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know
know if the ice gonna.
I don't know if the ice will make it, right?
Yeah, and that's it, with the temperatures this week soaring to where they are, and that's something we should actually talk about to the constituents with inside the town, is that if you are looking to kind of venture out onto the lake, I'd recommend that you make calls to the local municipalities and talk to those individuals and see who they recommend to speak to in regards to the safety, because as we know, there's been some awful accidents in the last week or so.
Yeah, the first place probably to check would be the fire department.
Right.
Check with your emergency personnel, because they're gonna have a handle on whether it's safe or not. I think it's getting iffy.
It is good.
Right, and with some of the projected forecast in the next 10 days or so, it's looking like it's fairly mild, so. Now, March can hold a whole host of different things, but
It sure can.
usually we start getting on the other side of things as we get to March. So more to come on that. But the one thing about Paul is that he has the magic way to make it look like it's authentic, when in fact it may not necessarily be 100% authentic. So there's a way there's slight ways around this. So between some stock footage and getting the right footage of our actress on screen and the right moments, we can make it look like, in fact, she's out there ice fishing.
So if hopefully he's up to at least getting some nice shots of the event itself,
Right.
because I'm sure that's still gonna take place, you know, in regards to the chowders, et cetera,
Yes.
and the people attending.
Yes.
The ice will have to
Do
deal
they
with
serve the
separately.
chowder right on the ice?
No, they actually serve it right at Sportsman's Pier.
Oh,
So in other words, they have a facility, they have a building
yeah.
there, and you go in and you sit down, you visit with some of the community
Nice.
members, it's a wonderful thing, it really is.
Yeah,
I
I'd
like
be out of town,
Sportsman's
otherwise
Pier.
I'd definitely be there. I love chowders.
So more to come on, hopefully I'll have a much more detailed video update for you the next time that we gather in March. Moving on, Sarah Gagno and Melody Tremblay and I met to kind of go through a preliminary review of the new Hometown Hero applications that came in. Everything looked like it was in working order, all proper documentation and paperwork filled out, payments. So I believe the preliminary push was to send those for proofing with the company we've been dealing with, and also a discussion about some banners that were damaged and needing to replace those banners. So we took care of that. So should see some new Hometown Hero faces up on the poles this spring. Update on the water code. So we met on the same day, on the 16th, the same day we met with Boyer Benner later on. Met on the 16th to go over trying to finalize some of the pieces, but we realized that some of the information we were working with we might have overlooked something. So we're gonna schedule another meeting, and hopefully we'll have a finalized version for the updates to the water code, which will include applications for hookup, or winterizing or anything like that, as well as a pay table or a schedule of charges that will
Right,
be.
which I've been working on, so
Okay.
I should have that ready for the next meeting. Maybe at the end of this meeting, we can get our calendars out and schedule something.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, basically the update, so we'll try to have that ready for the next go-around. Just to note, we'll be bringing back our summer food truck events.
Yeah.
So Sarah's already letting me know all of the
What her favorites are?
what her favorites, and interestingly enough, it was so popular that some of the food trucks have already reached out to us
Great.
in order to be a part of the event. So that says everything about how well it was received.
Received.
Yes.
Sure.
So we're already planning those, so stay tuned. We'll let you know when they are scheduled and who's going to be here. And,
Awesome.
yeah. And last thing, again, if you have anything going on within the town, this includes the two villages, please let us know here. Let Sarah, let the supervisor, let Julie, let somebody know, so we can help promote whatever your organization or event is, whether it's on our Facebook page, if we can help you with our website, or of course, posting something here at the town office.
Yes, please.
It's always nice to know what's going on in the community. So ends the report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boyer. Thank you, everybody, for everything you do. Report from the town clerk.
You have my monthly report that needs approval.
Make a motion to accept the town clerk's monthly report for the month of January, 2023.
Second, any discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Want this copy signed, or you have another one?
No, I need that, you to sign that one.
Yeah, you want this one signed, right? Okay.
Then you have your utility detailed billing register that needs approval.
I didn't see anything incorrect or anything wrong with it.
If you notice, it's for the whole year.
Yes, this is an annual
Correct.
billing, yep. Which we will explain when we get a little further on.
Correct. So in the future, will we be provided just with one of these versus, as in the past, we've seen them more often?
Yeah, that'll be the only one, and that's the one for the full year.
Oh, yeah.
So, in essence, next year it would be in December, it'd have to be sent in to the county for a total, for each individual you put on the tax.
Yes. So pretty much
So-
this report, unless there's changes
Right.
to the EDUs, would go to the county for their taxes.
So I'm wondering if maybe in the future with the water committee, when they meet, if maybe you could be included. I think it might be able to kind of have us verify and get any questions answered, so we can make sure that that document's
Yeah, and
perfect.
and the deadline for that is
Right?
like 6th of
Yes.
December, so it's really November, it's still going, I think.
So when the report is
Deadline
created,
for the
we
Right.
make it
it's
as accurate as
November
possible,
15th.
because it looks like it's
Get it
a
on.
one and done. thing,
Usually all
so we
re-levies
come
have to
back.
be there for
That's what it has to be now.
Okay, so I say, so
They
November has
usually
to be,
extend it, you know, a few days, but.
so mid-November this has to be sent in, this coming year,
Right.
So then we
November
should,
2023.
so we should assume that our finalized.
So do you have a
report should
date
be
in
No
November?
later than the end of
It's
October.
usually like
right?
November 15th, everything has to be sent down.
Yeah, we've got one report that has to be done in August for water board,
Mhm.
and then if there's any changes after that, yes, you could have a October deadline.
Yes, okay. Just knowing what our timeline is now.
Yeah.
Making sure we're.
Well, I've already started working on dates, I'm just trying to get an idea in terms of like, if this is gonna be, so you kind of have to work backwards. You don't work forwards, you gotta work backwards.
Anyways, I'll make a motion to approve the EDU billing for the year 2023 as presented. Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Did anybody find anything in question at all?
Good.
Okay. All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Julie. Review of the post audit bills abstract. Everybody's
a lot of money.
Yeah, and as you know, there's 3 big ticket items here, right? So, for everyone listening, so we've got, you've got the Champlain Fire District that's within this, that was collected in the taxes, which is, $444,000. You've got $340,000 for Champlain EMS. And of course, you've got the debt payment for this year for the,
Environmental Facilities Corp.
for the Water District 6. Trying to find it.
It's $284,317.
Yep, there it is, yep. So, yeah, that made for a large $1.1 million total,
Oh,
yeah.
About what I gave the town.
What's that?
I said that's about what I gave the town for taxes.
Mm-hmm. A lot of money.
Yes, it is.
So there's no question that is, does not require approval, so we'll move on to, we need approval of the monthly bills. We were provided that listing by PO plus the additional bills, you all have copies of that. Which was, the vendor was AES Northeast, this was for Restore New York grant application. I wanna make a point that that amount was for $21.85, which we paid, and we have invoiced Future Electronics for reimbursement, so we should see that. Depending if it's in the snail mail, it might take a week or two. Coming out of Canada.
oh, wow.
And then, of course, the other one was road cleaning, that's done on a regular basis. And then the water shut off at 15 Church, that was for Garso's, and that has been invoiced to them. So grand total is $89,048.09. Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the bills along with the additional bills as submitted.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rochester,
Aye.
Councilmember Bory,
Aye.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Supervisor Trombley.
Aye. Motion carries, thank you. You have a copy of the report from the code enforcement officer?
I have one question on that.
Yeah, might be the same one I had, go ahead.
If you can, give me a second to let me find it, I've got my 4 pages of pre-meeting notes here. Somebody else wants to jump in, the curb valve,
Yeah, at the end?
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure about. I asked,
I wanted to,
I didn't catch Chris today to find out. I asked Sarah, and she said she's not sure if he's verified that or not.
because they indicated usage high, but I don't know what that means. I mean, are we talking, you know?
Yeah, I get the call.
So is it a meter issue possibly? Is it an effective meter?
I think
or
so.
is it
I think-
actually
this what
a
I talked
curb
to
stop?
Mike Joliker about?
I'm not sure.
That's what I'm
It's,
wondering.
He wasn't sure, he called me because his usage was high,
Okay,
and he said that it had been hit more than once. So I gave the message to Chris to go check on it, but I'm not sure what Chris.
so where's the
found
curb
out.
stop located at this property?
Yeah,
That's my question, so should it be
It's a
moved?
residence.
Oh,
Is it gonna be repeatedly hit?
Yeah,
Right,
this is
right.
a residence,
In a
I
bad
believe it's
spot.
across from him.
Not now, with frozen ground, but,
I believe that's where it is.
we'll have to find out.
Yeah, it's a residence, not a business. But,
And
I
us-
mean, since then, I believe he's already came in and paid his water bill. So, I'm not sure what Chris found out, I'm the one gave
I'm
Chris
not
the
either,
message.
so when we do, we'll either have Chris email everybody, or Sarah or I will, fill you in what it is when we get to the bottom. That's the one I've still got a question on. Anything else? If not, we'll move on. You've got your Champlain monthly dog reports from our
June.
dog control officer. Let's see, pretty busy this past month. Zoning board meeting minutes from January 19th, 2023. And you have your January call report for EMS. And total number of calls for January were 124. To let everybody know how busy they are. Loaded miles, 1,984, so that's, people they had to transport. And their average response time was 1.76 minutes.
so, the way I interpret that is that that's before the vehicle leaves the actual fire station, correct? Is that what we're looking at?
We're talking about for
The 1.7,
the response time,
okay, that's what I,
yeah.
and also I have a question, if we can jump back to the zoning piece. I know in reading the minutes, there was a question asked, or a point that had been made in terms of the SEQR that needs to be completed prior to the planning board,
Mhm.
moving on site plans. Is there an answer that's been found out in regards to that?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay,
Yes, the seeker has to be completed before the site plan can be get its final approval.
okay,
So that, I've redone the scope document, I'll forward that off to all of you so you have it. I think I finally got it where it fits our code.
okay,
What it means is, it means one more additional meeting on the planning board, so it extends the process.
another month?
Well, not really a month, another 2 weeks,
Okay.
because they had to meet the zoning board, so then 2 weeks later, you have another planning board meeting, right? So it's an additional 2 weeks into the 3rd month, yes.
Okay,
Because we have to have the zoning board by code, they do seekers, so we have to wait for them to approve it.
okay,
Then it comes back to the planning board, If there's nothing to address, they do their final approval.
Okay, thank you.
So until we get that code resolved in the next couple of years through this comp plan, that's where it's at. Any other questions on the EMS report? Okay, correspondence from Charter Communications. Anything on that? Then the Cannon Associates memo, I provided you this. This is the, through the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board I told you about, where I listed 2 properties. And as you can see, they both ended up on the list, which is great. So one is listed as Champlain vacant lot, that is behind Miramar, that's a 22-acre piece.
Mhm.
And Champlain farmland, that would be everything around, behind Hudson Headwaters, wrapping around to South Street, it's all that Bayshore farmland. I wanna add that, Mr. Mike Bayshore said it's not for sale at this time,
Right,
but he entertained listing it to see what would happen.
and that zoning code's a C1, right?
Correct,
I think, correct?
that's correct.
And the other one's an IC1.
Correct. And the other one is definitely more desirable because it has
Correct.
full infrastructure.
And that is a Miramar Drive, that's not the 40 Miramar Drive, correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
It's just behind that.
so that one's presently, okay.
Yep.
And I had a question in regards to this particular business that is looking into this. They also specialize in business attraction and retention. I didn't know if that's something that maybe as a town, it's something we ought to look at and evaluate,
Yeah.
so.
Good, well, if we're having another, I don't think there's another scheduled Zoom for this, but if there is one, we'll need to ask that question. Did you go on the website?
I did, I looked at their services, yeah,
Okay. I'll look into that as well, thank you.
you're welcome.
Can I just make one comment about this? So there's a large conversation happening at the state level about really trying to push the development of housing all throughout New York State.
Right.
So.
Well, that's what resulted in this, really.
Which is, yes, so, I guess if there's any property owners out there that own large swaths of land that think that they might be sitting in a situation where developing that land, this may be an opportune time.
Yeah, especially if you have infrastructure running through your property. This particular study that's being done by Cameo is a tri-county study,
Mhm.
so it's Essex, Franklin, and Clinton. So it's pretty cool that we're sitting up there high on the list right now.
That's good.
Pretty cool. So we'll see where that goes. And, the IDA is actually still, per my request and per this, looking into, still looking at the state to see if we can do pilots for that purpose, which would help immensely. Another reason why the Miramar property would be more desirable for a developer is it's not farmland. It's being taxed as commercial property.
Mhm.
So, in regards to the farmland, they would have to, currently that has I forget what the reduction in taxes, what it's called, that ag reduction.
Mhm.
That would actually cost them money, because what they would have to do is after year 1, they would have to pay back 5 years of that if they develop it into commercial. That's another issue with developing farmland, it's very costly for the developer. So in other words, it goes back to 3 or 5 years, Tim
Mhm.
explained it to me. So when they start developing, they have to back pay, I think it's the previous 3 years for county and town tax, that other remaining 85% or whatever it is that wasn't paid.
Because they had an exemption before, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they received that benefit.
Yeah.
Is it something that maybe the contractor, the actual housing contractor, maybe could kind of consider rolling into the contract, I don't know, in terms of helping out the people that actually own the farmland, I don't know.
No, it's the contractor that paid for it.
So it's the contractor, it's not the property
It's a
owner? then?
developer, I should say.
It's
Let's
the
call it
developer, okay.
Yeah, so
So okay,
that's what I'm saying, so that makes this other property. more
which pushes
diverse.
also the cost of the housing up.
That's what I'm saying, it pushes the cost of the investment, right? So, when I learned that, I'm like, well, the other one scores a lot higher then, because you
Right.
don't have that to worry about. Interesting, isn't it? Those are the things that I think the state and the county need to alleviate. I mean, how do you do, make it lucrative for somebody to develop housing
Right.
between the cost of materials, and taxes, and now I learned this, if it's
An
farmland,
additional burden,
you have a-
yeah.
you have to back pay.
Right.
It's crazy. Next thing is, the information I gave you on the, trying to do a credit card policy here.
Yep.
I don't know if you looked through it, I briefly looked through it, and I think that we have to pick from 3 of them, and I need to merge it into one. I found that the town of Rhinebeck was very good and concise, but then I also found that the town of Manlius addresses gas cards, which we need to address our Wex Bank cards, so that needs to be included in the policy. And then I found, where is that, town of Williamson, I think it was. Subsection 12.3, use for expenses, that whole paragraph I love, so I think what I'd like to do is put together a draft out of this,
Right.
get it back to you guys. Unless you have different opinions, those are the 3 I thought need to be basically,
Yeah, there's parts from a lot of those that should be kind of intertwined. And I'm also one that is very, very skeptical about using credit cards in general for municipal or organizational purposes. And so there's certain things that are, you gotta make sure that you don't allow for those cards. And you have to limit as to who can use them.
in our case, it's strictly the highway superintendent and the secretary of the town board,
Right,
that's it.
right.
And I don't think we need any reason to change that.
Other than some type of scope for being able to preview the charges that are on that by another party.
And that should be this board.
That's fine, but I just think it needs to be somebody that kind of can identify what those charges are, because a lot of times that's where, in certain organizations, costs can be hidden.
Okay, well, I think that's one of the subsections in here that I'm still borrowing from, or copying out, dealt with that. So we'll see what it looks like when we,
Okay.
so hang on to this, because if I leave something out that needs to be added, then you certainly need to go circle back, okay?
It was a nice collection of different
It was.
policies from different towns. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see what's working for them.
I'm just surprised we didn't have a credit card policy.
Yeah.
I can't understand. If we have credit cards, why don't we have a credit card policy?
Yeah, I mean, but
So.
it's really a limited use, it's not very prevalent.
Yeah, but it's not-
Usually we have.
not carte blanche.
No, usually we have people vouchers, pay for it and voucher back to the town.
Yeah, like if I was to travel, I would
Yeah.
pay on my own and just
Right.
voucher it back, and that's most of what most
Right.
everybody would do that. This is just, like for this office, it would be if something had to be ordered
Mhm.
via that credit card, if it was something that had to be purchased for the office, for an example. Or maybe, here's another example, code officers going to training and you need to reserve a hotel, it gets used for that. But in most cases, they won't just bill the town, so you have to put in a credit card.
Well, we used to, when we went to Lake Placid, we used to, just hold the room with the credit card. Then when we got there, we'd give them a voucher, and then we could pay by voucher, so we never.
And maybe that's being done too.
Never even use the card. We just hold the room and then pay by voucher.
Yeah, and one thing I think you have to set on that, Tom, is it has to be a certain amount limit.
I
And
can't.
anything above that cap should actually have supervisor approval.
Mhm. And I think that's in here on one of
So.
these examples, but they refer to their procurement policy
I know,
for that limit.
but
And
It's just to kind of heads things off before it occurs.
I agree.
Yep,
I agree.
You want to have oversight.
So
right,
I-
absolutely,
I think we're gonna have to start with a rough draft, and then we'll tweak it out,
right.
add, whatever. And then, what are we down here? Oh, New York State, low-income household water assistance program. This is also being provided, with your next quarterly billing. I think I talked about that in my report. Here's a copy of that.
And that's for water and sewer.
That's correct,
It's not just water.
that's
And
correct.
it also deals with arrears, so.
So, you know, if you qualify, you know, the information's there where to go to find out if you qualify. We'll have it on our website, and like I said, next quarterly billing, it'll be going out to all residents, because it doesn't apply to commercial users.
Still good information that may affect some people.
I think it affects a lot of people. I think if you look at their table on the website, I think in terms of, you know, the amount in regard, or in proportion to the actual household size, I think you're gonna find that a lot of people in our community qualify.
I think
you're right.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay, so I'll go with the billing as a reminder. So that brings us down to new business. The zoning board at their last meeting elected their chair and vice chair. This board needs to approve that appointment. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Tracy Pecos as chair of the zoning board and Kevin Hicks as vice chair.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion?
No, those are good choices.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item up is whether to waive a penalty of $39.44 for account number 132. And we also added, we need to have discussion how we're gonna handle that in the future. So I think I threw mine out with this other file. Here it is. You all have copies of this, so I think I'd like a motion to get it on the floor so we can discuss it. We have paid the principal balance, the penalty was not paid, we'd like to waive it, and we can get it in discussion once it's on the floor.
I'll make a motion to move the border patrol not pay the penalty of $39.44 on their water bill.
Thank you. I'll second it. Okay, so now we can, any discussion, this is where we're gonna discuss why. Julie, can you fill us in on how this one took place?
Well, I believe this is the one that we couldn't re-levy on the taxes. We can't re-levy them on the taxes.
Because they don't pay taxes?
Yeah.
Right.
So.
So it's one of those ones that falls into no man's land.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
didn't,
so-
and they didn't, something about the timing of the billing too.
Yeah, I
That's the
mean, they
reason I-
normally pay, but then I think there was an issue too with the mail.
Yep.
And it was sent, and we never got it, so we never got the check from them. They sent it. So we contacted them by email, you know, because told them it was outstanding. But we had to we did the penalty on it, and then, but if we would've got the check when it was mailed, so that check was never received, it was like lost. So they even had to stop payment on it.
Oh.
And
So
we did get the same.
what is the mailing address? Where does this bill go to?
I don't know offhand. I'd have to, is it on there, Tom?
That's what I'm looking at, I don't see it.
Well, it's
I don't
maybe
have
on
it.
It just
there.
gives the property
So I can't
location.
tell
It's
you.
probably on the EDU list.
It's not in my AD report, so.
I'm not really sure, I'd have to.
I know we're located on the Ridge Road, but does it go to the Ridge Road
I
address?
don't, I don't
think
believe
so.
it does, no. Actually, I don't even know if we mail this one, it's probably one of the ones that gets
Electronic.
emailed
That's what I thought.
to them.
So it's an email.
But they did pay it, they did pay it, but we never received the check, and the check was like lost out there somewhere.
So they've never been late before, is what you're saying?
How do
No,
we know they paid it?
well, they have paid it now because they sent another check to cover the one that,
That didn't get to us?
but they did not pay the penalty when they sent the check,
Right. I can understand that.
because,
And just to inform the board, we have entertained a situation like this in the past. It wasn't commercial, it was residential. And it had to do with the timing of the bill being received. Indication that the bill wasn't received because there was more than one party. We gave a one-time, that's it.
Oh, yes.
After that, penalty in fact must be paid.
Now, I want to point out, this is for the EDU billing, this is not the quarterly water billing.
Correct.
So in regards to that question for interest penalties, I think it's null and void because next year it's going on the tax roll and you're not gonna have any control of that anyways.
True.
That was the Ridge Road Border Patrol.
Yes.
That was the
Right, right. I think on the EDU list I have, it's actually titled Swan because it's a Swan, Vermont thing.
Could be, yeah.
It is.
So that section-
yeah, that's probably
So I'm
where
wondering if
it
it
goes.
goes to the Swanton location.
Well, the address is Indianapolis, Indiana.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, did you
So I
find
mean, you
it?
start
Yeah.
dealing with government sites, you don't know.
I know, it says Border Patrol, Swanton, Telecom Drive, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yeah, so, oh yeah, there it is, I just found it.
I mean, can see how it happened, especially, you know, with the government, there's so many different agencies.
Branches.
So, we have a motion and a second. I think you all agree that I don't think it's crucial we even address this penalty because it's all gonna change. I mean, I guess it could happen this year because this is our last billing without being on the tax roll. I think we need to address that as a case by case for now, rather than try to change a policy for some industries and not others.
Right, and that's where you have to be careful. If you set a precedent,
You can't
then you're
spot.
opening up the door.
Spot.
Yeah.
So I really don't wanna make a change to that. I don't know if you all agree in that discussion or not, but the motion was to waive the penalty. So if there's no further discussion, you wanna do a roll call on that, please?
Sure.
Councilmember Rochester,
Aye.
Councilmember Bory,
Abstain.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Nay.
Councilmember Trumbull, or Supervisor Trumbull.
I'm gonna go aye, because I felt that there's no way to, we're stuck between a rock and a hard spot on that one.
The other thing I'm looking at it is, even if theoretically we're right, we probably spend more than $40 in manpower tracking this down, arguing with it, sending out correspondence, and then having them say, no, we don't agree.
Anyway.
Anyway, I mean, I'm looking at it from
Stand on.
a practical standpoint. I mean, I'd agree with it, but from a practical standpoint.
I think in this case, and I'm telling you, we gotta remember,
Case by
we
case.
have to address these case by case.
Yeah,
In this one, that's how I felt.
I mean, they did send the check,
right.
it got lost.
And that does happen to people.
More and more, too.
And
Okay? Motion carries. So, next one is this general code estimate. What we have here, I don't think we have a choice in this matter, but they're estimating between 2,070 and 2,600
That's a big difference.
to codify local law number 1 from 2021, number 2 from 2021, number 3 from 2021, and number 2 and 3 from 2022. And if you want to know what those are, in that same order, one was amending the dog law for fines and fees, amending brush and grass and rubbish in our code, amending code 124-51, so I'm not sure what that one is doing. And then zoning law amendments, that was local law number 2 of 2022, and then Number 3 is the new charter community choice aggregation program, which is the solar on Liggett Road, correct? The only thing I question is why we have them from 2021 so that how come those didn't get done? Did they
Well-
lag on it, or?
No, we don't always, I mean, if there's not a lot of stuff, we don't send it over.
Does anybody know the account in the budget that would relate to how these are paid? Because I couldn't find, I don't know where this comes out of.
I think it's gonna come out of zoning, but, there's not enough on that budget line item for this, we're gonna have to move money.
That's what I'm asking in
We're gonna
terms
have
of
to
moving
move
forward.
money within that fund.
Right,
And when I asked Sarah that question, she's like, it has to get paid, we'll just have to move money over from another line in that fund. So you will see that coming.
so down the road, is it something that we maybe need to look at, budgeting, between $500 and $7,500?
Yeah,
Because we're gonna
you have to remember.
update these on an ongoing basis,
Yeah,
year to
we need
year.
to budget more, and you have to remember, I was grinding my teeth when we went through this budget process this year, because we tried to scrape it very thin, to try to keep that under the tax cap, and if we did go over, we don't go over very much. It was all due to the EMS, we know that.
Correct.
But we did a lot of shaving, and yes, this should have been budgeted more. But maybe we also should try to, would it hurt just to put whatever we have annually in, so it falls under, that annual budget instead of, 2 years' worth? It would probably be easier to budget for.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to contact them or I would contact them earlier before budget and see what the cost was gonna be for, like this year right now, we have one local law so far.
Yeah.
But I think there's a few from the end of last year that's not on there yet,
Right,
right?
and those are the unknowns. So there's, in addition to the ones that you think, in fact, have to, be paid for, and then the new ones along, that's why I think it has to be a line item annual.
Yeah, so in other words, like, if 1st of October, you gave them everything we had up to that date that needed to be codified, we should be able to have an estimate, hopefully, that we could use during budgeting to make sure we're covering that year's worth of codification.
And the question I have, Julie, is with these 5 pieces of legislation that are being updated, that in fact, this cost is covering, is it on the basis of the length of those pieces of legislation that the cost is determined? Or is it a round figure based upon each piece of legislation is X amount? I don't know how that works.
I'm not really sure either.
Yeah,
And so some legislation is gonna be larger than others.
so
So some might cost more than others, so depending on what we're updating, you might find that you spend more than, I don't know. It's just something to think, to ask them.
Will this include the dog law, the noise ordinance, and the
Well,
water
that's-
code?
that's all
That's-
will be, so those
No,
are,
those will be all new ones,
Those
because
will
you
be all
haven't
new.
did
Well,
anything
then,
in.
should we delay? I mean, we're.
no,
I don't think
I
we
think,
can.
I think we need to get this cleared up.
Right.
Okay.
Those that we're gonna hopefully get in place in the next few months would be part of that list that we're gonna give them by, maybe we should do it by September. And then we would have an estimate of what all those are gonna cost to codify, and we can.
Where's this going to, AES?
No,
No.
this goes to general
General
code.
Okay.
And they updated all our new, everything they have, it's on, our website now, all the new code.
Okay.
And they'll supply us with the paperwork to update our code books here, 5 copies, I think it is.
Yeah, that's what it says.
But everything's updated online, so you can get online and look at it.
Nope, 4 sets, 4 sets of supplemental pages. So,
So this is a company that does this?
Yeah,
General
general code.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Can you recall what an average cost was in the past when you did it?
It's been about that.
So this is right around where
Yeah.
that should be, so, okay.
There's not a lot of competition and.
In general code.
Well, it's just like legal ads, you know, there's not a lot of competition. And they charge what the market bears, and it's always been an expensive proposition, it's always been that. But, you know, the devil in the deep blue sea, you don't,
And you have to do it.
and you have to do it.
You have to do it. You pass local laws and make
Now-
revisions to code, you have to codify it.
Now, is this a public business,
Do you know the answer to that?
or is it private? Is there any competition? Again, I'm not looking to, I'm just trying to figure this thing out in my mind.
I think it's private, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm new to it as well.
And this is who we've always used, the town has always used general code.
Yeah, every time it's been a bill larger than what you think it should be. But,
That doesn't surprise me.
you know,
Everything's so much more now.
It's a point that Rick made, we need to be thinking about the line item and then having the cutoff date, like getting to this point, everything up to this point, and then what is it gonna cost, and then it goes.
If not, then we have to pick a number of pieces of legislation that we do each year,
True, or cap it, right.
you know? Right,
You
I
can do
agree.
4, that's it.
And that's why we gotta figure out whether or not the legislation per item is a set value and they're all that, or,
Right.
cause if not, you don't know.
Mhm.
That's
There's no
why-
budget for that.
That's why I don't wanna open up stuff like, for example, the planning and zoning, codes and try to realign those. We need to let the comp plan drive that,
Right.
cause for one, you gotta be able to defend it if you change it
Justify it.
outside of the comp plan, for one, right? And-
Right.
And for two, it's costly.
Mhm.
So if we roll it into, hopefully we have a grant that helps cover the revisions
Yeah,
at
you
that
did.
time, and it'll get rolled in with it.
Yeah, cause that'll be a big piece.
That's gonna be a lot of revisions when we get to that.
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, if,
So do you need approval on that amount? Is that what
yeah,
you're,
well, I guess we're not paying this amount, it's just approval to move forward based on the estimate, correct? It's not the bill.
No, this isn't the bill, this
No.
is just giving you a quote of what it's gonna cost, roughly what it's gonna cost. And once you's okay that, then I gotta send it over to them, let them
Give us a
know to go
roll.
ahead.
And then we'll get,
And then
then we'll
you'll
get
get
an
a bill.
invoice, then we'll get an
Yeah.
invoice.
so this
So, but-
discussion's already occurred with Sarah, and the funds are available there for that, because there is no line item?
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, well, and her words is like, we have no choice, we gotta go through with it, and we'll just move some money from a couple other line items within that budget, code. So I guess all I need is a motion to move forward with the codification of these local laws. As noted.
We'll make a motion to move forward with the codification of all of the listed local laws as, and the estimate you needed to, up to, you want an up to amount, or
Yeah.
up to $2,600?
Yep.
I second that.
Thank you. Because we're not spending money or not, I think just all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then in terms of discussion on this, I'm sorry, Tom, go ahead, finish it.
No, go ahead. If you want to
I
discuss
I
it.
just wanna know in terms of what determines whether or not a piece of legislation is codified versus not codified.
Well, I guess if you look
Because
at the
they
list,
say here there's 6 pieces that in fact do not need to be codified.
and,
So what does that mean?
Those are like, the tax cap.
yeah, three
Every
of
Okay.
them.
year we
Three of them.
pass that
Okay,
local law for the tax cap. That does not have to be,
And the
in the
ones,
laws.
okay,
And then there was another, what was the other one?
moratorium on solar,
Yeah, the
Okay.
so
moratorium.
that's temporary, apparently doesn't need to be codified.
okay,
Income eligibility for, is that
The
the tax law?
exemptions,
The
that was that
exemptions.
exemption that we passed,
okay.
And then the override for the tax cap.
yeah, the override.
So those are the legislation that did not require codification.
That's stuff that was either new or changing language that already existed, that's basically what's at the document.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. So, we were all in favor, there was no opposed, motion carries. So we'll get that taken care of. Next thing on the list of new business is review and decision for level of technical review for our booster station submittals.
Oh, yeah.
So I provided you with the letter of authorization, which is basically the quote 2022-01A. And I provided you with a summary of what we received in regards to quotes and submittals. And as you can see, if you look on the list, there was only one that, in my review, matched the equipment that was described in the project. It was, you know, apples to apples. So, and that one happens to be, well, it's not the, it's like the third from the most expensive, I guess. But it also requires the pneumatic tanks, and they were substituted equipment because they were not poly, they are steel.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, take that with a grain of salt, because what we have now is steel, over 30 years old, so it wouldn't be the end of the world to make that substitution. You know, so that, you know, those two together would be what, over $40,000, $41,000. The others are very desirable because they all reduce the cost quite a bit. So the question I'm gonna put to you, I think I kinda know what I wanna do, but is, do we hire AES to review all bids?
Up to the 4. Because it includes up to the 4, including substitution.
Yes, we gotta pull one out, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Right? Which would be for, so that's $1,200 plus $4,500 to do the review of all the substitutes that we provide them. But it's up, is it up to 4 substitutes?
Yes.
So that would mean all 5.
Correct.
So, because one of them is not a substitute, one of them is specified equipment. So, that's $3,700. Then if we did, or if their report indicated that one of these others was acceptable and suitable, they would have to revise the project manual and resubmit it to the county health department. That'd be another $900. Okay? And I'll give you my opinion, because of the chance of these lower costs, and they could be very suitable, it's worth looking into. I mean, it's, so for additional $4,500, I mean, if we didn't do that, and we look at just this one, just to make sure that it meets, it's $1,200. You know, have somebody technically review it and make sure everything was perfect, there's $1,200. So you're risking $4,500 to possibly save anywhere from up to $15,000. Actually, more like $30,000 because they don't require tanks. So I think before we decide what we're doing, I hate to do it this way, but I think I'd like to hear more discussion from you guys. And then we'll talk about the additional $4,500 afterwards. That kind of comes into the construction side. I'm just talking about this approximately $4,600 to get all the review done and a report ranking these guys as to who the engineer recommends. offhand, have you got thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it seems logical. We've got these bids, and we really want to vet them, and the engineering firm is the one to do it. And they may come up with things that we didn't miss, that's the other thing. I mean, it might be better to pay a little bit up front and find out and save a little bit more at the end, save a larger amount at the end.
And even if we didn't save at the end, I just wanna point out, at least we vetted things properly, and 10 years down the road, we won't be sorry what we did. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
That's my point, is I want it to be in there and not have to go back and
Wow,
Go
we
oops.
missed the boat there, yeah.
oops. So I'm really relying on Jennifer to do a good job of vetting those submittals.
Well, it's kind of like a cover your
Rick, you got
area.
thoughts?
I agree with Brian. I think moving forward, we don't have anybody within inside the town that can, make these kinds of decisions. I think we have to rely on the engineer.
Yeah, I do too, I mean, I've got them on my desk, I can show them to you, it's a lot of information.
Yep.
And when it's, like that one that I looked at, I could tell by that one from Frank P. Langley, it's like, it looks like it matches pretty well, you know? But then when all these others come in and they're so much less money, I think it's worth looking at. It could be better, who knows?
And you don't know in terms of those proposed costs, you don't know if they're buying things from, secondary and tertiary markets, and you don't know the quality of, and that's where you have to rely on the engineers,
Right, the quality is so important.
I think.
I agree. So, with that said then, do you agree with that as well? We should go all the way around the
Yes,
table.
it sounds like it's the recommendation to have it looked over by an appropriate set of eyes and
And
professionals. So I mean, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, you know what our budget is here, I don't like having to think about spending more, but we might save it. And if we don't, well, it's still money well spent, because we'll have,
Can be confident that,
we're installing the right one.
right,
Yes, our job is to be fiscally responsible for the money of the town, and to make sure that it's being spent in an appropriate and wise way. But I think the taxpayers, and as Rick would say, the constituents would understand that if we needed to spend this kind of money to ensure that the money we will be spending is in fact the correct,
the right one.
and what we're doing is appropriate, because we're not necessarily qualified to do that. We're gonna get somebody that is qualified to make sure that we're doing the right thing, so I think it makes sense.
Okay. Annie, I think
I agree,
you agree, okay.
I do.
So, we all agree so far that we need that whole portion of the scope. So the last one, task 4, is construction administration services. So AES will perform the following limited construction administration services. And I think the reason it's limited is I don't think they're gonna be there 24/7 through this whole thing. So it will include, but not limited to the following: perform installation inspections as needed to ensure equipment is installed in accordance with the project manual. Collect and address contractors' technical questions as needed. Technical submittal reviews, if not handled above. Well, they are gonna be handled above, so I'm not sure why that bullet item's there. I guess that would be if we decided to just pick one and run with it. I think that's what that's about. Provide and manage contracts between the town and the contractor using a standard EJCDC contract. Review contractor application for payment to ensure payment request is appropriate for the work performed. And witness equipment startup activities performed by the contractor. Meet and communicate with town as needed in support of the work. A total of up to 36 hours have been allocated to this task. Fees $4,500. The only thing I can say is, we've been through a project here that didn't get watched over close enough. I think having a set of eyes here like this, rather than myself or Chris, is valuable.
I couldn't agree more. We need to have
I mean, it does put-
Eyes on, because just from building two houses, I know that if you're not around, things happen, shortcuts get taken, and this is too big of a project to, you know, hope for the best. You can't put your trust in, and
And is it an undue burden to put that on people that are already stretched thin, that, you know what I mean, like, it's
Oh, yeah.
another thing to think about.
Yeah, like how
It
much time would I
is.
be spending down there and how much time could Chris possibly spend there? And what would we miss? That's how I looked at it. I know it's another $4,500, and believe me, that stresses me because this budget is
tight.
stretched thin.
Mhm.
I just hope that one of these lower proposal costs
Might
is the
come
one,
into play.
is the one chosen. You know, I did talk to a couple of the vendors about not having these tanks, and it's just another item I have to worry about wearing out. You know, they claim it's not required. And if we think about what we're trying to boost there, it's not a huge district, you know? And it's really just the tip of the hill that, I've discovered that as well. We're only doing this for two places, one primarily. It just happened to be at the highest elevation on that ridge.
How did they get chosen, those spots?
Well, no, it's, the houses were there already,
Questions?
and then this district was put in to get everybody off the wells because of the contamination at the landfill. This was back in the 90s.
Okay.
So because of the elevation of those homes, under the old water system, there was many more that needed boosting besides just them. Then they did a test when they put the new tanks in place. I talked to Mickey about this. And they're all above health standards of 20, is it 25 PSI? It's either 20 or 25, I can't remember now. But they're just barely over, so, you know, like 29, 30. And, you know, it makes the upstairs shower pretty low in pressure at that level. So the board decided to keep the booster stations in place to give everybody satisfactory level of pressure. So that's all we're doing is keeping the pressure at a satisfactory level. It's not that it's below health standards. I thought it was, but it's not. That was good information to find out. So are we all in agreement that we probably need to sign on to the full amount?
I think we have to sign on to the full 11 one. That's my own theory, and especially for that construction administration services. That fourth and fifth bulleted item, I mean, I have questions in terms of that EJCDC contract, because I'd like to know how often that communication that occurs between the contractor and the town. I'd like to know that that's a regular ongoing piece, but again, I don't know what that contract will contain. But that fifth item is just, for me, a big piece, is that you're ensuring that you're getting the appropriate work that's being performed for the payment that's being received.
Right. Okay, so I would ask for a motion to approve LOA 2022-01A for up to a total of 11,101.
I make a
Oh,
motion.
100, excuse me.
Yep, I make a motion that we approve the letter of authorization, LOA number 2022-10A to AES Northeast, up to the maximum amount of $11,100.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Bory,
Aye.
Councilmember Rochester, Supervisor Trombley.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. I think we made the right decision. Next thing is the New York Planning Federation Annual Planning and Zoning. Talked to Sarah about what we could afford here. Because it'd be great to send everybody if we can, but I'd like to send at least 2 people. And we'd like to do the Monday only commuter registration. To save the hotel costs. We will have to pay mileage for transportation. And I'm waiting to see if you guys agree with this before I go out to the 2 boards. Or maybe 1 board, I'm not sure yet. I'll have to have a discussion with the clerk here and how I should handle that. I'm gonna have to ask the chairs and vice chairs first, I think. I don't wanna cause any issues. But I think we have to, from what Sarah tells me, I need to limit it to 2 people. And when I told her Monday only would work, she's like, okay, we can swing that.
So are we looking at sending somebody from the zoning board? Because there's a lot of topics there that seem very relevant for that. And then the other person I think of is the code enforcement officer. I think there's a lot of pieces there also.
Well, I'll have a discussion with him on that, but I
Okay.
think that his training covered a lot of this. I'll go to him
Okay.
first, but I think there's a lot of weakness in the zoning board in regards to the training.
I agree.
And the planning board did all attend the training at the county, so I mean, it's not like they don't have any under their belt, but I haven't. Has anybody go to
Are we a member? Or are we not a member?
I think we're a member.
Yeah.
Because
let's
it-
Yeah,
go
we're a
it-
there.
member.
Because the difference is
Yeah.
$50 a
Yeah.
person.
No, we're a
Oh,
member.
wow.
I'm sure we are. Is it just planning that went to,
So it'd be under $500, but really not because you got mileage and other things that's gonna be
No,
included.
last fall. With Chris, 3 of them are Chris, Carrie, Julie maybe? So I say it's hard to get zoning for the training, and I think that's what I'm gonna concentrate on first, I think. But I'll run it by Chris, so I just
Yeah,
need.
because the one thing I did see on that Tuesday that I thought might be important is land use and planning case law, but I don't know. I mean, I think sign regulation and those things are definitely your zoning.
I have been noticing a lot of new signs. They look nice. All the boards, seems like. I guess maybe I'm more aware of it and
Right.
looking, but.
So I guess,
So what do you need, an approval up to 2 people up to a maximum amount?
yeah, exactly. And then I'll go out and see if I can find the 2 people.
What other cost would there be other than mileage and the actual registration? I would imagine you must put in money for meals, yes? Right.
There might be, because that they have, where did I see that? Thought it was lunch.
There is an awards lunch.
Right, but that's an extra $70.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not for that, I thought that there was,
Must be some lunch.
They're serving filet mignon.
Lobster
there's-
tails.
there's gonna be meals.
Okay. So it's mileage then on top of the 230 per person.
Correct.
And would both people ride together,
Yes,
save on the mileage?
yes, I would definitely ask for that.
Can we
That's
also
what-
make another provision that those that do go and receive the training do come back and inform the others that have not gone on the training about what they've learned and any materials that they've received and being able to share those? And we get a little more bang for the dollar.
Yeah, I think those other zoning members
Yeah.
and maybe even planning members could benefit from, being brought up to speed.
And hopefully there will be no snowstorms.
Mhm.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's April. Still a dicey month. Not as bad as March, but.
Okay, so.
Okay?
Did we
Well,
approve that?
no,
We
we
didn't
haven't.
approve it.
We have not.
If you would, if you put a motion on the floor to, up to 2 members, Monday only commuter registration for, that'd be $520 plus mileage and meals. So we really can't put a total on it.
Yeah. Not to exceed 1,000 or 750, I mean.
750 probably.
Yeah. That should be right.
In the ballpark.
Ballpark.
Sorry, probably 100.
What was it, 230 apiece, right? I thought?
125 probably.
So that's 460. And then you've got, your mileage is what, 65 and a
No,
half cents?
210 apiece, I'm
What do you
sorry.
have them when we go?
210, I thought I
Monday?
saw 230.
Yeah,
Only the one day, Monday.
yeah. Yeah, 'cause Tuesday is not a lot of training.
So
but there's-
420.
Well, there is
I think you
reading
get in for
interpreting
under
site
500.
plans, that's the best thing I see on there.
Well, we probably.
The
go
case
with
law update.
Maximum, you know.
Tracking housing
You never
investment.
know. If it was thousands, I'd worry about it, but for, what we're looking at. I'd just like to leave that little wiggle room just in case something happens. You know, there is a snowstorm and they gotta spend the night,
Right, yes,
You know,
exactly.
who knows?
What's the piece you don't know?
Roughly $165 for mileage.
So, yeah, I mean, cat was $750. Yeah, so
Yeah, so I think 750 is a good number.
that's close.
Yeah, that's cool.
Good? I'll agree with, that's one motion, do we have a second?
Sure, I'll second that. Why not?
Why not?
We're all about training, right?
And we're
We
not,
are.
Absolutely.
We definitely
we're
are.
not approving the money, so we don't need I guess we're approving this expenditure up to 750, so
We're
we'll do
approving all vouchers.
We'll do a call.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Yeah.
Councilmember Rochester,
Aye.
Councilmember Rory,
Aye.
Supervisor Trombley.
Aye. Next is, and you were in here when I brought up to everybody, we had to add something to the new business. It's approval of payment to Rogers Electric. This is based off the,
Is that the plan? No.
no, this is the generator on Dubois Road. So the generator is all installed, hooked up. The only thing he has to do there is he has to go back and run the new electrical underground to the lift station and remove, once that's done, he ties that in, then he will remove the old switch and electrical box. That was all additional work outside of this, anyways, if you recall, because that was extra electrical work that was outside the scope of this. So this was to install new three-phase exterior rated circuit panels supplied by the town of Champlain, replace the existing circuit panel. They will also supply labor and connectors to install new wire conductors from new three-phase panel to pump station. Ah, that is in there, the wire and the conductors. That hasn't been done yet.
So
The
we
wire and
don't
circuit
pay for
breakers
it ahead
by
of time.
power pumps.
That's why we're paying for that task core and another project.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
right there.
Yep. Catching that stuff.
Might be 4,500, but T's crossed, I's dotted.
Okay, so I gotta ask you, do you wanna pay pay this in full when it's not done, or do we wanna give them a deposit, cause it's 99%
I
done?
think we give them a deposit.
That's what I'm
and we
thinking.
wait till it's complete.
Now that I caught that, I just caught this in an email when I got here at 6:30. He emailed me at 4:50 this afternoon, asking if we were gonna approve this today. It wasn't on my radar.
Yeah.
Um,
And even if he tries to negotiate, you know, in terms of, you know, this underground electric, and I'd still only give him a partial deposit.
Okay, so the total of this bill,
Safer.
the total of this bill is
Well, it's
four,
the contract.
Yeah.
yeah,
You gotta follow the contract.
I know. And it is on here, Rogers will also supply labor and connectors to install new wire conductors from the new three-phase panel to the pump station. And that's not done yet. So, total of the bill is $49.82.
How do you break that down though? So do you give him 50%? Do you give him 75%?
Well, that line item for the, no, that's not there. So that was included in all that electrical work, which was a total of $25.90. You know, so he did install the three-phase exterior circuit panel, which we purchased. He did tie it all in, it's live, it's working. The only thing he didn't do was that three-phase new wire. from
How long would it
three-phase
take to do that, Tom?
He's gotta dig, probably 4 or 5 hours at the most, and then take the rest of the old equipment off the board. So if you figured, take off 20% of that maybe? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
That does sound.
But is it something that needs to be done ASAP is my question? I mean, does he have to come back here like this weekend? No? Okay,
No.
okay.
He could, because of the fog.
Weather,
It's go-
that's
because
what I'm
of-
thinking.
Because of the weather, I could request that he does that. I think I'd
It'll
handle
be
this now.
easier on him, I think, if he does it
I think he
once.
was hoping to do it when he came to finish the other job.
That's what I wondered.
That's what he was hoping to do. So, boy, this is turning into a real hard one to decide. So that was, hope that's still on there, 2072. I'm gonna write on that.
$49.10, the balance.
No, the top line item was only reduced by $510 or something like that.
Did we get a copy of that?
Yeah, originally.
That's what I'm
You want me
wondering.
to make copies of this for you now?
Oh, yeah.
You-
What's that?
You should have it. It's back
Should
from,
have it, it's your pile.
I do, it's in my pile at home.
It's dated October 7th.
I need a new study just for
Do
this.
you wanna see
Oh,
this?
project.
Yes,
Pass it
if I
down to
could.
him? So it's five, we would take away 518 from that total, if we wanna just give them 80%
The total.
of that first line item.
You want to see?
Because they're expecting payment as soon as possible.
Yeah. Or you approve the total and with giving me the authority to tell him if he wants it in full in the next day or two, he has to finish it, otherwise we're gonna reduce it by $518
Temporarily, till it's done.
temporarily until it's finished.
Right.
So the one piece he doesn't have done is underneath the installation and service?
Mm-hmm. You found it?
Yeah.
Please don't you keep in your phone.
20% is certainly reasonable.
Yeah, the condition you have, you paid most of it, and
Yeah.
part of it's held back until finished.
Yeah, we approved the total amount with the caveat holding back the 518 until it's complete.
I think that's fine. Cause I don't
I think
know
it's
if it's
fair.
fair to hold back the
Yeah.
whole payment.
Well,
No, no,
we
no,
wouldn't do
no.
that.
That's not fair, it's
That
almost all finished,
Right,
so.
exactly,
Correct.
that wouldn't be fair.
Correct.
But this certainly is.
And it's up to him, I mean, if he wants to make it easy, he comes when the ground's kind of,
Soft.
yeah.
Was this under duress too? Wasn't this something that had to be done with like relative speed, needed to be completed? No? Alright.
No,
We have so
I
many
mean,
things falling apart.
I think if it had came here a month earlier and did it, it would be completed, but it came late after it got cold, you know, so part of it is on his scheduling. I'm not sure, I think he wanted to wait and do both of them at the same time, and unfortunately, the ground froze. And even if it stays warm for another week or so, it should thaw, I would hope, enough to dig, and leave that up to him. So let's make the motion to approve the $4,982 in full. I will offer him either full payment if he comes up and finishes it, or we'll reduce it by $518 and we'll pay him that when it comes in, when he comes and finishes. Does that work?
That sounds reasonable.
So you make the motion and then we can,
Yep, so I make a motion that we approve payment to Rogers Electric for a total of $4,982 with the requirement that he finishes the supply, finishes labor and connectors to install new wire conductors for new three-phase panel to pump station, which is not completed yet. If he's not able to do that right away, I would pay him minus $518.
444.64.
4,000.
464.
$4,464. Thank you. Let's do that. Do I have a second?
Just my fingers in the head.
Public calculating.
I second that. I've got a dog that's outside freezing its tail feathers off.
Could I have roll call, please?
Oh, Councilmember Rochester,
Aye, aye, aye.
Councilmember Bory,
Aye.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
okay,
Supervisor Trombley.
Aye. Motion carries, thank you.
Can I take that and make a copy of it?
Yep. 44464.
I'll do it after tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a copy anyways, but the original must be in line with the scans.
Okay.
Okay, so that brings us to the Consolidated Water District Number 6 EDU billing letter. So if you folks have hung in there long enough, you'll hear what this is about. So I'm looking for approval to send this letter out. But I think I'll only take a minute to read to them in case somebody wants a heads up. So, dear landowner, this letter is to inform you of a change in the method of which the town of Champlain is now required to bill for equivalent dwelling unit EDU charges starting this February. During a recent audit review by the New York State Comptroller Office, we were directed by their counsel that quarterly billing can no longer be done for collecting payments for debt within a special district such as this Consolidated Water District Number 6. As per the New York State Comptroller's Office, all properties within the water district are required to contribute their share of the debt in the form of a benefit tax. The amount that each property be indebted will continue to be calculated by the number of EDUs assigned, same as it has been done since the start of the loan. However, the billing cycle must be annual, not quarterly. Therefore, you will be receiving one bill this year for the 2023 billing cycle as attached. Beginning next year, this EDU benefit tax will be a line item on your January 2024 county and town real property tax bill, same as the Champlain Fire District and Champlain EMS billing. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause in your budgeting. Important information for tax exempt properties. All tax exempt properties are also required to contribute their share of the debt in the form of this EDU benefit tax and must continue to pay this EDU benefit tax annually. This bill represents the 2023 billing, and next year will be received on the county and town real property tax bill for 2024 as described above. Pursuant to section 420 of real property tax law, Entities such as churches and government properties are exempt from most taxes. Reference page 2, attachment A. However, pursuant to section 490 of the real property tax law, defining that tax exempt entities are not exempt from taxes levied to pay for the costs, including interest and incidental and preliminary costs of the acquisition, installation, construction of water supply and distribution systems and sewer systems, either sanitary or surface drainage or both, including purification, treatment, or disposal plants or buildings. Reference page 3. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me here at the town office. Sincerely, Thomas Trombley.
Very nice.
So you guys all good with that?
Yep.
We'll get that out for with our billing right away.
So what does the template bill look like? Do we have one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
must
guess.
have one in your office, huh?
I'm just curious.
Well, luckily you're not a cat.
What's that?
You know what happens to kitty cats that are curious.
I will always be curious. I believe you question everything. And if you don't, you wish you would.
You'll regret it. Yes, yes, you wish you had.
You wish you did. Thank you.
And this is separate from the.
This goes with this letter.
Yeah, I'm saying that's a separate bill from the normal tax bill. So they're not gonna get,
Yeah, this year, it's a separate bill.
that's what I'm just trying to make sure that so
Yeah.
people don't get confused.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know, this year,
And then the addendum.
this is your
Okay.
your
Yep.
bill will be attached to this letter.
I see it.
Yeah.
It's starting next year.
Starting next
It'll be
year,
a line
they'll
item
get it
on
with
tax.
their normal tax bill, and it'll be a one-time payment.
Still one, yep, still one
annual
payment.
Can I just make a recommendation? That underneath that current charges detail, where you have your description, should that say annual EDU charge instead of just EDU charge? Just that way it's not open-ended and people don't look and go,
It's more clarification,
Just a thought.
really.
Just
than
a
it
thought.
is.
Can that be added?
On those bills? Not now.
no, they're already printed? Oh,
They're already all ready to go, you just
okay,
gotta
well,
stamp them.
then there goes that. All right, I'm just trying to head off any questions that people have.
Well, hopefully
The letter, as it comes with it, should, if somebody reads it carefully, we should be fine, but.
did we add on the bill attention?
Yes, that's a
Yeah,
good.
I think we, did you read that? We added attention to this.
Saw that.
Yeah.
I just gotta stamp them, they're all ready to go.
Should we stamp the envelope important or something?
I
Don't
think
throw
you should
away.
put time sensitive, because how long, now, do you similarly to property tax, do you give them 4 payments? It's a one-time bill, right? They're gonna have to pay this lump sum.
Well,
By which
if you
date?
looked on there, they've got till the end of October.
Correct. So,
Pay it.
so it's actually longer than what property tax is.
Yes,
For-
it's
for this year.
Halloween, right?
Correct, but next year it will not.
Next
It'll
year
be
it
in
will
those
not.
4, up to those 3 payments.
Yep.
Correct, okay.
It'll be, the county will disperse those payments out.
So what we figured, Sarah and I, that when they get this bill, if someone calls and says, well, we don't have this amount, they can send us half of it or part of it. You know, we can just keep taking payments if they can't afford it until the end of October.
Right.
Yeah,
They
depending on the
piecemeal.
number of months that have elapsed between February and October, the due date, yeah, I agree. So you could-
Yes, please, thank you.
I mean, some of them that are on fixed income and they get a bill like this, they might not have it all.
That's what I mean.
So, I mean, it really
Because-
isn't any different than what normally we do quarterly.
Right.
This is just one bill, but they still got until October to pay
Right.
it. Right.
Well, allows them to budget if they wanna do it as a lump sum,
Yeah,
you know?
but
For those
next
that-
year it'll be
For
different.
those that can, I'm sure they'll send the one payment in, but some may need to.
So let me ask you this, there's nothing on there about late fee though? Okay, I'm just,
No, there isn't.
okay, I'm just,
Isn't that on the bill?
I'm
is it?
questioning it.
No, but I assume we're not gonna put a late fee on it until
After.
it goes to the county. And normally, it's the same group of people every year that gets re-levied. I mean, it's not,
Mhm,
there's not normally the, you know what I mean?
mhm.
I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get calls.
Oh, yeah.
But when you put it on for 2024, I just recommend, under that description, just put annual EDU charge, because it's a,
It's more clarification.
yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna wordsmith what we give the county carefully.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Yeah. No, letter looks good though.
Thank you. Do you think
Very
we-
descriptive.
Thank you. Do you think we need put it in the form of a motion to approve sending these out?
I think we should, because we make a motion in terms of any times there's a
Yeah.
change to the EDU listing. So why wouldn't we make a motion to actually approve this billing for 2023?
Because
Well, you did earlier.
we approved the billing, but now we're approving the
You did
form
approve
of
the
it, the
billing.
annual billing.
Along with the correspondence that's in fact
Explaining
explaining
it.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I would like a motion for that, please. To approve the correspondence explaining the annual billing and to be right as it
Jason?
What he says.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the
Okay.
correspondence and the billing as we've been read and viewed.
Can I see that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next, I need a motion to enter executive session, to leave the regular meeting, recess the regular meeting, and enter into executive session for a personnel matter.
I'll make a motion, we recess the regular meeting and go into an executive session to discuss personnel.
I second that motion.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 9:03. Okay, we move to end the executive session at 10:15 and re-enter the regular meeting. During executive session, no decisions were made. We have more research to do on the matter, and it will be addressed in the future. I would now like a motion to adjourn a regular meeting.
I make a motion that we adjourn our regular monthly meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. 10:16.
So the old business